Okay, we today we start with the new chapter in biology, one of the important chapters of botany, that is photosynthesis. Uh, Photosynthesis, in fact, you have been learning about photosynthesis right from your childhood. That means I would say even in the first or the second standard you must have been knowing that okay, the plants are going to produce their own food with the help of the sunlight and chlorophyll, and that is nothing but photosynthesis, and in turn give you oxygen. Now yeah, that is exactly what you are going to study again, but only thing is that here it will be in much more details, as we also are going to see that what are the reactions which are going to take place during photosynthesis, where does actually the photosynthesis takes place, what are the different steps which are involved in the photosynthesis, and of course finally will be the experiments which are based on photosynthesis. So this is the chapter number 6 of standard 10th ICSE, that is photosynthesis. Plants self food producers. So plants we call them as autotrophs because they are self food producers. They prepare their own food, and that's why they are autotrophs in nature. All living organisms need food. Animals obtain food from plants, but plants prepare it for themselves by the process of photosynthesis. So the process of photosynthesis is the main process by which the plants produce their own food, and also food for us in that case. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is an important activity of all green plants which are able to synthesize food from carbon dioxide and water in the presence of chlorophyll and light energy. So in the presence of chlorophyll and light energy, if the plants have the capacity to convert the carbon dioxide and the water into food, into nothing but starch, or we can say glucose. So the essential chemical steps in this process are the same in all green plants. So all green plants, wherever photosynthesis is taking place, the essential steps which are involved in the photosynthesis are going to be remaining the same. There will not be any much difference in the thing. Maybe some have got a chlorophyll of different kind, or they may be located somewhere else. But the main process what takes place during photosynthesis is common for all the different kinds of plants. So that's why we define photosynthesis is the process by which living plant cells containing chlorophyll produce food substances, glucose and starch from carbon dioxide and water by using light energy. Plants release oxygen as a byproduct during photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is the process in which the chlorophyll and the light energy are being utilized to convert the carbon dioxide and water into glucose or starch, and in turn the byproduct which is going to be formed will be oxygen, which is given out into the atmosphere. So now we see the importance of photosynthesis. First of all, food for all. Yes, the main and most important thing in photosynthesis is it is giving food for everybody. So food for all is the most foremost motive. Photosynthesis is ultimately the source of energy and food for all living beings, directly for plants and indirectly for animals and humans who eat the plants or the plant eating animals. So basically, if you are a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian, doesn't matter, because when you are either if you are vegetarian, you are eating the plants directly, and if you are non-vegetarian, then you are eating those animals who has eaten the plants. So in a way, you are just the plants becomes the main source of food for any particular living organism. And second, and most another very important thing is oxygen to breathe in. In the whole the earth's surface, okay, the only natural process which generates oxygen, okay, the only natural process which generates oxygen is photosynthesis. That's why it is only this particular process by which the oxygen content in the atmosphere is remaining constant. Okay, so that's why it is a very important thing that we get oxygen to breathe from this particular process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the only biological process which releases energy, oxygen into the atmosphere. It is the only biological activity which releases oxygen into the atmosphere. The oxygen supports all life on earth. No living being can remain alive without oxygen. So that's the thing, that we require oxygen for respiration, and accordingly the only natural process available for generation of oxygen is nothing but photosynthesis. So that was the main importance of photosynthesis. First, food for all. Second is oxygen. Now we talk about the detail of photosynthesis. So first and foremost thing, what is required in the plant for photosynthesis is chlorophyll. So the first thing what is required is chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is the first thing, the vital plant pigment which is required for photosynthesis. Chlorophyll, chloro means green and phyll means leaf, is the green coloring matter found in plants. It is contained in microscopic cell organelles called chloroplast. So when we studied about the cell, we come to know that the cells contains plastids in the form of chloroplast. So that chloroplast contains chlorophyll in them. So it is the green color pigment which is found in the chloroplast, which is nothing but the chlorophyll. Chloroplasts are minute oval bodies bounded by double membranes. So they are bounded by double. It's an oval body. So it's an oval body like this. So it is having a double membrane. So it is like this, a double membrane kind of oval structure. Just a simple oval structure of chloroplast. And their interior contains closely packed, flattened sacs called thylakoids. So there will be this particular kind of organ thing, that there will be discs like this. So flattened kind of a disc like this. These are called as thylakoids. So these are the thylakoids, which are the flattened disc-shaped structures present inside the chloroplast in this way. So these disc-like structures, what you see, are the thylakoids. Okay, the thylakoids are the, so it is flattened sac arranged in piles called as thylakoid. Now this each and every pile over here is called as grana. Okay, these piles are called as grana. So this is the grana, this is the grana. Okay, and lying in a colorless ground substance called stroma. So this part, the lower part, this part over here is called as the stroma. Okay, so grana and stroma. Grana, the piles, and the stroma is nothing but the surface, the ground surface is the stroma. Ordinarily, there may be 40 to 50 chloroplasts in a cell. So in one cell, there is around 40 to 50 chloroplasts. Okay, and the pigment chlorophyll is contained in the walls of the thylakoid. It is highly complex substance composed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and magnesium. So carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and then nitrogen and magnesium. These are the 5 substances which constitute the composition of the chlorophyll. Of course, a very complex one. Chloroplasts are mainly contained in mesophyll cells located between the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis in palisade and spongy cells. So we have learned in the transpiration chapter that the thick the leaf has got the upper layer, the upper epidermis, the lower epidermis, and then there is the mesophyll layer and the palisade layer. So spongy mesophyll. So this is mainly in the mesophyll layer where you find the chloroplast. These are also found in guard cells of stomata and in the outer layer of young green stems. So the young green stem also contains chlorophyll. So any green part of the plant normally would contain chlorophyll. That could be a generalized statement that the green parts of the plant will be having chlorophyll in it. There are more than 5 lakh chloroplasts per square mm of leaf surface. So in one leaf surface, on one square mm of leaf substance, that is hardly a dot. In this, there are around 5 lakh chloroplasts, and 5 lakh chloroplasts is there in just one dot over here. Okay. You will be surprised to know that there are 9 types of chlorophyll. So chlorophyll, which is there, it is of 9 types. Okay, I'll just complete this figure first. So in this case, the thylakoids are there. The grana is in the form of a pile, and the stoma is at the bottom. And there are the connecting range over here. This connecting part over here are called as frets. Okay, the frets. The fret are the interconnecting bars. So fret are the interconnecting bars between the thylakoids. Stroma, grana, fret, and thylakoid. Each and every this is the thylakoid. This is nothing but the chloroplast. So this is nothing but chloroplast. So and the thylakoid over here contains the chlorophyll. So that is nothing but the that is the part of the chloroplast. You will be surprised to know that there are 9 types of chlorophyll. Out of these, chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B are best known and most abundant. So A and B, chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, they are just different types of chlorophyll. So out of that, A and B are the ones which are normally seen in most of the plants. So what does the chlorophyll do? Chlorophylls absorb light at both ends of the visible spectrum. So both have a visible spectrum, that is nothing but not only in the violet side but also on the red side. So both ends, violet as well as red, it is able to absorb the thing and reflect away only the green light. So green is in the between. So violet, indigo, blue, yeah, absorbed, and green not absorbed, it is reflected back, and yellow, orange, red. So that is also absorbed. So only the green light is reflected back, and that is why we see the green color of the leaf. So the reflected back at the green light, that is why chlorophyll appears green. Chlorophyll appears green because the reflected light coming from the chlorophyll is green color only. Out of the white light which is supplied to it, only the green color part is reflected back. That's why we see the chlorophyll to be green in color. The absorbed blue and red light are almost effective for photosynthesis. So for photosynthesis, the blue range and the red range, that are the one which are most important for photosynthesis. The photons which are present over there are going to be doing the process of photosynthesis. Now, the chlorophyll which is there is very sensitive. So if too much light is there, it destroys the chlorophyll. So it is not necessary that okay, more the light, more the chlorophyll will function properly. No, it's not like that. It is in fact this way, that if there is too much of a light, then the chlorophyll is going to get destroyed. So chlorophyll is highly sensitive to light. So too much light may destroy it. However, the formation of chlorophyll itself depends on the exposure of the plant to light. Okay, so the chlorophyll depends, the formation of the chlorophyll is going to depend upon the exposure of the plant to the light, but definitely it cannot have more than a certain amount of light which is required for its movements, otherwise it will get destroyed. The grass growing in the shade under a yellow stone, and the stone turns yellowish due to the non-formation of new chlorophyll and due to the disintegration of the older ones in the absence of light. So you can see that in case now if there is a grass and there is a stone over there, the one which is just beneath the stone, you will find that those grass will become yellowish because they are not able to generate chlorophyll, because the generation of chlorophyll also requires sunlight. So if sunlight is not available to the grass over there because of the stone always casting a shadow of it on the grass, then definitely that grass will be lacking chlorophyll and it will remain yellow. Okay, so this was about the structure of the chloroplast, that the chloroplast is present in the leaf, in the mesophyll and the mesophyll of the leaf. It has got in 1 square mm there is around 5 lakh chloroplast present, and the chloroplast is an oval shaped double walled sac which has got sac like flattened sacs over here, which are the thylakoids, and these thylakoids are combined in a form of a pile called as the grana, which is located in the base, which is the stroma, and the interconnecting thylakoids which are interconnected by the thread. So this is the structure of the chloroplast. We also understood that the chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B are the most commonly found chlorophyll present in the plants, and yes, the plants will require only optimum amount of sunlight for the chlorophyll to be present over there. Otherwise, if too much of light is there, then also it destroys the chlorophyll, and if the light is not available, then also the chlorophyll not be formed. Accordingly, light and chlorophyll are very much connected to each other. Now let's see how does the regulation of the stomatal opening takes place for letting in the carbon dioxide. So first thing we understand is photosynthesis is going to take place by the process in which the carbon dioxide and water in the leaf is going to be converted into glucose with the help of chlorophyll and sunlight. So sunlight, chlorophyll we understood. Now we talk about the ingredients. Ingredients required for the photosynthesis are carbon dioxide and water. Now carbon dioxide is not available inside the plant. It needs to take in carbon dioxide from outside, whereas water is very much present inside the plant through the xylem to the topmost part of the plant. So water is not an issue. What important is the carbon dioxide. Now how does the carbon dioxide enter into the plant? So the entry of the carbon dioxide into the plant is through the stomatal opening present in the lower epidermis of the leaves. The stomata which is opening up and the carbon dioxide is getting inside, and that is also the time where the stomatal transpiration takes place. So in a way we can see that because the plant required carbon dioxide, so the stomata opened up for taking in carbon dioxide, but in turn the water vapor which was present inside got escaped out. So we can say that transpiration is the price paid by the plant for photosynthesis. Okay, why? Because if it would have not required to do photosynthesis, it would have never had the stomata, and if the stomata would have not been there, or it doesn't open up, then there cannot be an escaping of the water from the leaf. That is, transpiration would have not taken place at such a high rate. So accordingly, you see that the price paid by the plant for photosynthesis is transpiration. Anyway, coming back to this particular one is the method by which the carbon dioxide enters into the plant. So the plant gets carbon dioxide through the stomata, and the opening and closing of the stomata is being regulated by the plant in different in one particular process. So let's understand this way. Stomata are minute openings occurring in large numbers for large numbers on the lower surface of a leaf. Okay, so they are the stomata, the openings which are present in the lower surface of the leaf in large numbers. The main function of the stomata is to let in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis. So main thing of course is to allow the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to enter into the plant body. When stomata are not in use for photosynthesis, that is when it is dark, they tend to close their opening so that the water loss is minimized from the leaves through transpiration. When there is light, as after sunrise, they reopen to allow carbon dioxide to diffuse in. Transpiration occurs along with photosynthesis. Due to this process, one can say that transpiration is the price which the plant pays for photosynthesis. That's what exactly I explained you, that when it is dark, the stomata is going to remain closed, because in the darkness photosynthesis cannot take place. That's why at that time there is very less amount of transpiration taking place. But as soon as there is sunrise and the light is coming up, at that time, then the stomata opens up, and the opening of the stomata causes transpiration. Hence we say that transpiration is the price paid by which the plant pays for photosynthesis. The closing and opening of stomata are on the account of the movement of the water in and out of the guard cells. They are thick inner walls. They have a thick inner wall facing the opening and a thin outer wall on the opposite side. The cytoplasm contains chloroplast. So it is this way that the guard cells which are there, they have got a thick kind of wall, so thicker wall on the inner side and thinner walls on the outer side. So thinner wall on the outer side like this. Okay, this is how the thing is there, and accordingly then there will be the other cells which are here. So this is one cell, this is another cell, this is the third cell, this is the fourth cell over here, and accordingly we will have different cells which are present connected or around this particular guard cell. And this part over here is the aperture or opening part. Now these has got the chloroplast in it, and so these two are called as the guard cells, and these guard cells are going to open up so that it opens up, then the carbon dioxide can enter inside here. And if this is exosmosis takes place and it is flaccid, then it becomes closes. So it becomes it would become like this. It would become just stick to each other like this. So when it is flaccid, when this is flaccid, at that time it is going to get stuck to the, so the guard cells close or the openings close, stomata opening closes. When it is turgid, at that time it opens up. So we can consider that the closing and opening, yeah, sure. So the opening and closing of stomata, there are two theories about the opening and closing of stomata. So the opening and closing of stomata is being done. So actually what exactly is taking place cannot be completely be understood. It could be two different theories based on which the opening and closing of stomata is taking place. The first one is called as the potassium ion concentrations theory, and second one is sugar concentration theory. So the recent one is the potassium ion theory, the earlier one was sugar concentration. So let's understand both these theories. And now how actually the stomata opens up and closes, it's just unknown. It could be any of these theory or maybe something else also, but yes, we will just study these two theories, that is K plus ion theory and sugar theory. According to the recent K plus ion concentration theory, the stomatal opening and closing depends on the generation of potassium ion gradient. So there will be potassium ion gradient. What do you mean by gradient? Gradient means there is a difference of potential between the one cell and other cell about the potassium ions present in them. So potassium ion gradient. During daytime, the chloroplast in the guard cells photosynthesize, which leads to the production of ATP. So when the guard cells, they are going to do the photosynthesis, in the daytime they have guard cells which are here, they have got certain amount of food, we know that they have chloroplast in them, so they do photosynthesis. So in the daytime when they are doing photosynthesis also gives you ATP. So one of the byproduct of photosynthesis is also ATP. So it generates the ATP over there. This ATP is used to actively pump the potassium ion of the adjacent cells into the guard cells. So the ATP which is present, which is formed over here, is going to do active transport. There will be an active transport of the K plus ions, the potassium ions which are present in the neighboring ones. Okay, so ATP is used to actively pump the potassium ions of the adjacent cell into the guard cell. So potassium ions, so K plus ion which is over here and K plus which is here, is going to be actively putting inside over here like this by using ATP. That is why we see that we call them as an active transport. An active transport is going to take place in which the K plus ions from the neighboring cells is going to be pumped up into the guard cells. Increase in the K plus ions of the guard cells make them hypertonic. The moment it is going to be there, so it will be hypertonic. So what happens? The concentration of the cell concentration increases. So accordingly, what will happen? It will absorb more water. If it absorbs more water, what will happen? It will become turgid, and when due to turgidity, what will be there? It is going to open up. So increase in K plus concentration of the guard cell makes them hypertonic, so more water from the adjacent cell is drawn in and the cells become more turgid and they move outwards to open out the stomatal pore. Reverse happens at night. The K plus ions leak out, thus reducing the turgor and guard cells, and the turgor and the stomatal pore closes. So in the night time, this K plus is going to go outside over here to this ones, and accordingly it is going to become flaccid and it is going to close in the night time. So in the daytime, the ATP is used, ATP which was formed by this thing due to photosynthesis by the guard cell. If the guard cell has got chloroplast, they can do photosynthesis. So the photosynthesis done by the guard cells is going to produce ATP. The ATP of the guard cells is going to be used as active transport for the K plus ions present in the neighboring cells to enter into the guard cells. Accordingly, the guard cells concentration of cell is going to increase, the solute concentration increases, so it is becoming the hypertonic, and due to hypertonic end osmosis taking place, and that's end osmosis takes place inside the guard cell, and accordingly there is going to be more water coming up, which makes it more turgid, and because of the turgidity, the guard cells open up. So that is how the K plus theory is explained. The next what we see is the sugar concentration theory. According to old sugar concentration theory, during daytime the guard cells begin photosynthesis, and the sugar produced during the process increases the osmotic pressure, which draws in water from the adjoining cells due to end osmosis. Hence, the guard cells become turgid and bulge out due to the thin outer walls, thus widening the stomatal opening lying in between them. So it was a simple process. The older process was simple. What they said was that older theory was simple, that the guard cells are going to do photosynthesis. What is the end result of photosynthesis? Glucose. The glucose present over here makes this particular thing hypertonic. Accordingly, there will be water coming inside due to end osmosis, and that's why it becomes turgid. Becoming turgid, that's why the guard cells open up. So that is how the opening of the guard cells takes place by sugar concentration theory. As the stomata opens, the diffusion of the gases in and out begins for fulfilling the needs of photosynthesis and for allowing transpiration. Closing of stomata: if for any reason the water content of the leaf is falling short, the water is drawn out of the guard cells due to exosmosis, making them flaccid. As a result, their inner thick walls straighten to close the stomata. So when there is a drop on the water level over here, then there is going to be an exosmosis from the guard cells to outside, and thus become flaccid, and they close the stomata. So this is how the sugar concentration theory was considered for the opening and closing of stomata. And the other one, which was the recent one, is the potassium ion theory for the opening and closing of stomata. Now we see the process of photosynthesis in the next video.